All right, let's pull a file from the archives. This one, it's a case unlike any other. We're about to do an explainer on a journey into the absolute deepest parts of the mind, basically an investigation into how the human psyche can be deliberately taken apart piece by piece. Our subject is an anonymous traveler. Their guide is a shadowy figure known only as the Prophet, and the location, well, that's the subterranean soul.
It all boils down to this one single unsettling idea. This is the key that unlocks the entire investigation. It's the final destination for our traveler. This dawning realization that the person they think they are is just a construct, maybe even just a mask.
So this case file is laid out for us in a 6-act structure, and it documents this journey of psychic dissolution. We're going to follow the traveler through every single stage of this descent, and believe me, it's a path you don't just walk back from.
Okay, Act 1. Our story kicks off not on the surface, but way, way down in the deep, obsidian dark of the subterranean world. The traveler steps into a temple. But this is no place of worship. It's a metaphor, you see, a structure representing a psyche that's become terrifyingly strange, or as the Germans would say, unheimlich, uncanny, unhomely.
The first thing we need to understand is the ego. In psychology, it's the part of our mind trying to balance our primal urges with reality. But here, forget that. Here, we're told it's just a fragile defensive wall. Its only job is to try and muffle the chaotic whispers coming up from the basement. It's the familiar architecture of our identity, sure, but it's presented as a haunted house where the floor has already collapsed into an abyss. And this is where our guide, the Prophet, comes in. He's not a savior, he's a disruptor. They call him a holy fool, and he acts like a surgeon of the spirit. His whole goal is to just bypass the ego completely. He wants to show the traveler that the very walls of this temple they're standing in are built from their own repressed, hardened memories.
Moving on to the second act. This is where the Prophet's true and frankly terrifying purpose starts to become crystal clear, the deliberate and total collapse of the self.
You can almost hear the Prophet's mocking, terrible laughter as he looks at all our carefully constructed virtues and our rigid morals. He knows it's all just a paper-thin veil hiding a vast internal void. He sees the ego for exactly what it is, this fragile little boat, completely incapable of holding the turbulent ocean of the psyche.
So, when the ego's performance inevitably starts to crack, the Prophet is right there to welcome this chilling entity, the uncanny double. He actually orchestrates that horrifying moment when the traveler looks in the mirror, searching for their soul, and all they find is the cold, alien gaze of the abyss looking right back at them.
Now this is the crucial point. From the Prophet's perspective, this collapse isn't a tragedy at all. Tearing away our protective armor, shattering that deceptive mirror we call the self, is the first absolutely necessary step toward a deeper and a much more frightening truth. And now the traveler, stripped of all their defenses, their familiar identity just gone, begins the real descent. They're entering a realm where the rules of reality, of logic, of selfhood, they just don't apply anymore.
This sigil marks the entrance to what's called the Upside Down. And look, it's not a snake eating its own tail. It's a figure literally unzipping its own skin to reveal a mirror. This is the new state of being, a predatory landscape where the self is just tossed aside like some kind of worn-out costume.
This slide really shows you the total psychic flip. Logic gets turned on its head. That clear boundary between me and you starts to fray and just dissolve. Even shadows suddenly have physical weight. The whole point is to force the traveler to confront the hidden monstrosity that's been lurking just beneath their socialized surface this whole time. To complete this descent, the traveler can't just be an observer of the chaos. No, they have to integrate it. They have to consume it through a pretty dark and transformative ritual.
The Prophet insists on this total collapse. He basically traps the traveler in a mirror labyrinth, multiplying their image until they're surrounded by 1,000 versions of their own shadow. This shatters the ego ideal. That perfect, idealized version of yourself you carry around. And once that's broken, the raw energy of the id, the source of all our primal urges, can finally flood the chamber.
So through this ritual, the stale comforts of the surface world are just replaced. By consuming the unconscious, welcoming these repressed desires, and finally accepting the shadow as the true engine of desire, the traveler is completely transformed. They become an uncanny companion, someone who finds this strange, quiet peace in having absolutely no home at all.
Way up high above the central pit of the temple, a final authority emerges. And it's not a source of warmth or life, no. It's a celestial sentinel that radiates this cold, inescapable light, and it's there to cement this transformation.
This is the hollow sun. It represents the dead father, and its light is like a psychic scalpel. It works with the prophet, peeling back the very last layers of the ego to expose the mechanical, repetitive, and ultimately empty nature of the human soul. Under its cold, constant gaze, you know that nagging internal critic? The superego, that voice of guilt and shame and all the societal rules. It just starts to fade away into silence. And with that critical voice gone, the illusion of ownership and control is completely obliterated. The traveler finally understands they're not the masters of their own house. They're just temporary guests in a forgotten psychic basement they never even knew existed, and they certainly don't own it. And in the silence left behind by the superego, all that's left to hear is the roar of the void. This is the death drive made real, that impulse towards self-destruction, a return to nothingness. It's the fundamental pull of all psychic energy back toward a still, inorganic core, a return to an eternal, subterranean stillness.
So, the journey ends. The initiation is complete, but the traveler doesn't get to just stay in the abyss. They have to go back to the surface world, but they're forever and irrevocably changed by what they now carry inside them.
They are not the same people they were. They come out as ghosts, carrying the dampness of the underground in their very bones. The leakage of the unconscious, which is marked by these tears of the id, is now their permanent state of being. They are living symbols of the uncanny. And that's how the case file ends. Not with a neat answer, but with a haunting paradox. The disruptive force that shatters the self, the prophet, and the shattered self, the collapsed ego, they're revealed to be two parts of the same whole. A single, unsettling truth. That kind of leaves us questioning the very psychic ground we all think we're standing on.